Hey guys, what's up? It's a Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums, and today I am going to do an album review on the latest Natalia Lafourcade album, Un Canto por México, Volume 1. So, Natalia Lafourcade is a singer songwriter from Mexico. And yeah, in the years 2017 and 2018, she had released two albums, also called the Musas Parts 1 and 2, and both of these albums deal with Mexican folk music rather than the Latin flavored indie pop. And also around the same time, she worked on the soundtrack for the Disney movie Coco, which became somewhat sensational, and she had gained some fame in the rest of the world outside of Mexico. Thus, she sort of used her music as a channel between the outside world and the rootsy Mexican folk music ever since. Thus, we have this album, Un Canto por México, Volume 1. And yes, while you can say that this is a Mexican folk album, it's not really strictly Mexican folk album. She does try to make her musical styles kind of versatile from track to track. She can incorporate a little bit of pop on this track, and she would even incorporate a little jazzy flavors on another track as well, making this album not just one directional, but multi directional. So, I don't speak Spanish, so please spare me because I'm going to butcher some of these track titles. Also, it is very important to note that this album is not a completely original album, meaning that there are a few tracks on this album that are actually just cover songs, and there are also a few tracks on this album that are actually remakes of older Natalia Lafourcade songs. But anyways, the album starts off really strongly with the track El Balajú, Sereneta, Huasteca. And yeah, it is an incredibly fun, showy, colorful, and sweet album opening. It features the Mexican ranchero band Los Cojolites, and they start off with some really sweet, peppy, jumpy, fast paced horns, very fun group vocals, and then leading up to Natalia's entrance to the album, which is actually very fantastic. Her vocals are muscular, her presence is fantastic, and the tempo of the track sort of changes towards the end, making it a little slower, a little more relaxing, leading up to the second track, Mexicana, Hermosa. And this track is actually a remake of a track that appeared earlier on the first part of the two-parted Musas. And in comparison with the original, this one is a little bit more thick, dense in strings and harps. There's also a pretty beautiful duet on this track. And I also really love the theatrical strings. It's like this movie came out of a good old Disney movie, which actually makes a lot of sense given that Natalia had worked in Coco, as mentioned before. The third track is Veracruz, and it is actually a cover song. It starts off really moody, and then it sort of dissolves into something more easygoing with relaxing drum hits that are very Latin flavored, as well as nice, easygoing guitars. And overall, I love the tone of the track, I love the sentiment of the track, and it's a very beautiful rendition overall. The fourth track is Una Vida, and it is a low key 3/4 time signature track. It has a really nice bubbly chorus layered in horns, and even though it is not one of the most spectacular tracks on the entire album, it's still a really solid, cohesive track that I love a lot. And then we have Hasta Raíz, which is another track where Natalia sort of remakes her own song from a long time ago, and this track is probably my favorite track on the entire album. First of all, I love the very busy, consistent guitars on this track, and I also really love how sincere and heartfelt the tone of the track is without it dragging down the pace of the track. I also, again, I don't know why, but this track really does sound like a theme song to a movie of sorts, and there's just this layer of drama underneath the track that makes it really outstanding, really engaging and compelling. I just absolutely love the track. And then we have Ya no vivo por vivir, and it is another easygoing duet track featuring Lionel Garcia, and it is also a pretty good track. I won't say it's very great instrumentally. I do like the sensual, fast harmonies of the track, but instrumentally speaking, it's a little more typical and within Natalia's wheelhouse in comparison with other tracks on the album. And also, what's confusing about this track is that Natalia had already sang a duet of this track with another person a while ago. I don't really see the reason behind, remaking this track. Anyways, up next we have a very cute accordion track that is Mi Religión, and of course the lyrics is about how Natalia treats music as her religion. And it's a pretty cutesy track. It's not one of the most spectacular tracks on the entire album, but I still enjoy it for what it is. The next track, Para Que Sufrir, is also one of the more confusing moments on the album. It features Jorge Drexler, and Natalia and Jorge also have a bit of a duet on this track in a very low key, quiet fashion. The guitars are similarly just as low key, so it's a very quiet track. And then at the same time, there would be strings and horns sort of slapped on top in a very awkward and sterile and clean way. It sounds kind of jarring. Anyways, the album follows up with Nunca es Suficiente, and it's another highlight on the album for me. It is essentially a mid-paced accordion Latin dance tune. It's more Latin than it is dance, but it's still, kind of danceable with its Latin flavored beats. The horns and the accordions trade off really, really nicely on this track. The strings are beautiful, and the chorus, it's really memorable, really sticky. And we also have the track Sembrando Flores, and it is a fiery, intense, but also stripped back and skeletal acoustic track. The guitars and the vocals, they are intense. They do give a lot of energy. But I think the vocals are a little sparse on this track for some reason. Up next, we have Lo que Construimos, and it is a really fun while mid-paced track, and it features Meme. The guy, the guy who's featured on this track is called Meme. I know it's Meme, but it's Meme, and it's another duet track. And while again it doesn't sound bad instrumentally, vocally, it's pretty solid, pretty cohesive. I don't find anything about this track that's all that special, given that there are already a lot of good songs before this track on the album. Up next, we have one of the most unfortunate tracks on the entire album, Un Derecho de Nacimiento. This track sounds fantastic in the beginning. The guitar tones of this track, I absolutely love it. It sounds moody, but yet danceable. And I just really, really love that guitar tone. But then at the very end of the track, we suddenly get this weird rap verse that just doesn't fit to the overall tone of the track nor the tone of the album at all. It's just really jarring and weird. I don't know. It sounds so good at the beginning. Why would you put a rap verse at the end just to ruin it? Like, why? But anyways, it really sounded really nice in the beginning. Anyways, Mi Tierra Veracruzana is another track from the Musas double albums, except it is smoother, it has more guitars on it, and while I don't find it all that interesting sounding, it's certainly a slightly better upgrade for the original. And the album ends off with Cucur Cucu Paloma. And it's a very, very quiet ending, very, very low key. The guitars are very faint, sometimes even off. However, given how stripped back this track is instrumentally, we have a lot of spotlight on Natalia's vocals, and her vocals are amazing. Her yells towards the end are powerful, they are epic. But overall, even though it is just a collection of tracks, covers, remakes, renditions, I still think a bulk of the tracks on the album are very enjoyable, and it's like, Mexican folk music can be made very accessible because of Natalia, and I really admire that. So, my favorite track here is Hasta la Raíz, and my least favorite is Para que Sufrir. I am giving Natalia Lafourcade's Un Canto por México, Vol.1, a decent 8 out of 10. So, have you listened to the latest Natalia Lafourcade album? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I will be reviewing a lot of albums soon. Jeff Rosenstock, Perfume Genius, of course, Run the Jewels,